Just wanted to give you a quick rundown on the PDESAS website. It is a website run by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and it has a lot of resources that'll be super helpful to you, particularly if you end up teaching in Pennsylvania. So the first and most important element of the PDESAS website is the standards. So there's a lot of different ways you can kind of view them. The basics are searching. Most ways to search or browse through here is going to look similar to this, where you have grades on the side, you have your subject areas, and then you can even add courses. So if I say, let's say we want to look at what I teach, 9th grade, English Language Arts, it will throw us a whole bunch of the standards as well as materials and resources that can go with it. So that's if you're specifically searching for something. You can then search for keywords. If you're just looking for the standards in general to view them, which may be the way that you want to go about doing it for your assignment for this activity, is then just the viewing of them. So clicking the grade and the subject area, and it will give you the standards. And this is what you will use when creating lessons and units and curriculum in the state of Pennsylvania. The vertical view is another way that you can kind of choose to see the standards. Its breakdown's a little bit different, but it's clickable, and then you can kind of see it gives you a multi-grade view. So here's where this standard critical processes falls for grade 3, the expectations for grade 3, the standard for 5, 8, and 12. The bottom 4 options are just ways to download a bunch of these resources so you can view them offline if need be. The English Language Development Standards is interesting. It's specific to planning, instruction, and assessments for ELs. And it's really useful in seeing kind of what the students should be at for communication and other English language skills. So you can see they're just entering the skill in these categories, but then all the way up to bridging. So it's something worth checking out if you're interested. Next is the assessment section. This houses a bunch of tools related to the different assessments that are both standard based through the state and ones that you can create yourself. So it gives you information on things like, here's information on the keystones, the PSSAs. There's a lot of just resources that you can download and read here. So like here's accommodations. So if you're ever interested in that, or you're concerned if you get into a classroom and you're feeling unprepared for proctoring the PSSAs or the keystones, this would be a resource that you could use. The Assessment Center is particularly interesting, though, because it allows you to build assessments or create assessment items. And building assessments is really neat because what it allows you to do is find questions that are similar to what students will see on different standardized tests, and just kind of throws them there, whether you like standardized tests or hate them. That right now they are a necessary thing that we have to focus on at times. So this kind of gives you a chance to see some different prompts, questions that would be very similar to what students might see on the PSSA. So here's like a multiple choice question, and you can add them to an assessment, and then you have that you can print off at any point and use. So that's kind of the assessment section. There's also some information on project-based assessments, and this is a little more limited in its scope, but you can see that it still has some materials, algebra, biology, literature, scoring guides, and again, all of these are documents you download and view. For those of you that are looking at pre-K or younger grades, there are also assessments here. Again, somewhat limited in the options that are available, but there's some different things to poke around and check out. Curriculum framework is the next section, and this kind of allows you to create or download full curriculums. So if you wanted to look at, you come into a third grade classroom, let's say, and you're not really sure where to get started, you can jump right in, and there's not a clear fleshed out curriculum. Or if you have to do curriculum development, you can see that there's going to be some materials here that will essentially help you create that structure foundation if you're not sure where to start. So this is kind of that big picture idea. Again, a lot of these things you can check them out if they are part of your anticipated certification. If it's not related to your fields, then obviously you're not going to use them very often. Instruction goes over some really helpful resources when it comes to things like teaching students with disabilities or strategies. Here's a section, examples for teachers of students who are blind or visually impaired. So if you go into a classroom and you've never taught a student who's visually impaired, this would be a resource that you could use to help you feel more comfortable doing that. There's, again, a whole lot of tools that are worth checking out, poking around in. There's things related to student learning objectives, which your school may or may not use, depending. Under materials and resources, here's where you can kind of actually save some lessons. So you can create lesson plans. You can pull from templates. You can make it a whole unit or a single lesson. You create it, and then you kind of just pick the standards, pick the grades, and it will give you a bunch of resources and tools. You can build the rationale, the vocab. So it's got a lot that you can dig into here. And if you're not really sure where to start when it comes to lesson planning, this would be a really helpful tool. Other things like the Power Library here isn't actually access to Power Library, but it's information about Power Library, which is a resource provided through the state of Pennsylvania. And then finally, there's Safe and Supportive Schools, which is where you can get information on things related to mandated reporting and other elements of that. So there's a lot to poke around in here. Some of it will be super relevant to you right away, some of it maybe not for a while, and some of it maybe never will be relevant for you. But it's worth getting familiar with this system because, again, it is a major part of education in Pennsylvania, and it can be a really helpful resource. So I enjoy exploring